Hello, I am Quinny. Welcome to the channel, guys. In this video today, we are going back to the well. We are looking for under 23 rare defenders this time that might be a wee bit under the radar, maybe a wee bit overlooked, maybe even just undervalued in the marketplace. As ever, guys, we'll be scouring across Challenger and Champion Euro. We'll be touching as many leagues as possible in the efforts of trying to find some under 23 talent you can plug into a rare team or maybe even a rare pro team that you might not have been aware of, or might be better bang for a buck than some of the other options you've already discovered and you're already exploring. At any point in the video today, if you laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and let's get stuck into it. If you could hit the subscribe button, I do daily global football content, everything from Wonderkids and Rising Star Managers to fantasy football and watch-alongs. That will also automatically enter you into my April giveaway. This month, I'm giving away a rare under 23 goalkeeper in the Turkish Superliga, Diego Souza, and 2 limited goalkeepers. If you want to stick around to the end of the video, we'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Now, we're going to go from cheapest to lowest as we did last week, and the first player we come to, again, I think the cheapest player last week was also SPFL, Ross Tierney, I'm pretty sure it was. But the cheapest player we've got this week is Ross Graham. Now, Ross Graham actually came out in my early SPFL analysis as being an under 23 defender that was very successful at duels, aerial interceptions, all that kind of stuff. And his scores since discovery actually kind of justified it. You know, we've seen, I think right as they came on the platform, when was it? It must have been right, it was only a couple of games left. I think he maybe came onto the platform scoring this goal, give or take. And then, yeah, subsequently since then his L5 was, credible for an under 23 defender in his debut season in the SPFL. One of the more progressive teams like Dundee United, who have got one of the better academies in Scotland. So I definitely see this guy's been playing a lot through pre-season. I see him getting more and more chances. With him being a left-sided centre-back, it's a very vogue position. It's a very vogue profile. It is not too big of a stretch of the imagination to imagine this guy gets a more favourable transfer, maybe even mid-season, but certainly next summer. And, to be picking up a guy who will be U23 until 2025, floor price 0.011 Ethereum. The auctions, you can probably get him from about 120 euros or something like that for a rare. I think this guy has got a really low floor on failure. It's not, if he was to stop playing or whatever for a period through maybe being second choice or an injury or something like that, he is relatively cheap enough already. And with the U23 expiration date being so generous, it feels like a really good entry point before we even get into the season, because that first game against Kilmarnock, they're away. Kilmarnock are newly promoted back into the top division. Early season scorers, their prices will be driven, up the way, and this could be one of them for sure. Now, the second player on my list, I thought when I was coming to Italy, surely Monza, with the cash they're spending, the splash that they're making in the transfer market, domestically within Serie A, of course, if they maybe picked up a sneaky youth international or a under 23 defender of any kind that we can maybe capitalise upon, and they have, and his name is Andrea Carboni. Now, Andrea Carboni is an Italian youth international centre-back. Very good ball-playing guy. Unfortunately, last season he was at Cagliari, who got relegated. They were awful, but this guy is decent. And Monza, I don't expect him to be much better than maybe Cagliari were, because Cagliari actually had a really good roster of players and were just really unlucky with managerial situations, fitness, and just, bad form from top to bottom. But if this guy's coming in this new Monza wave, and Monza for me this transfer window is the closest thing we've had to Chelsea since Chelsea, really, and it's not that they're spending Chelsea money, but they are getting players. And even when Man City done it, it was a little bit different because Chelsea had kind of blazed that trail before them. But when Chelsea really went and started spending money, yeah, they were spending huge amounts of money, but it was the first time I ever remember in world football players that should not be going there were going there, and Monza are getting that in abundance. And if this is maybe one of the key defensive signings that they've made for this season, this guy, as an Italian youth international, has got a really high ceiling. Now, he doesn't actually have that many cards. There's only 56 rares in existence. The floor is 0.13. There's only a couple on the market, so he is somebody who will have a high demand early season. Once he's seen to be a starter in Serie A, you will quickly see his price change, especially from being U23, similar to Ross Graham, until 2025, and for the price point very similar to Ross Graham, his price will quickly change until we get Monza cards for the new season. Now, Ehud Pletnicek is an old favourite of the channel. He is still under 23. He's actually made a really good transfer to Leuven. Now, previously been at Zulte Waregem, and the kind of injury record that Ehud Pletnicek had, he was always a good under 23 calibre guy, and you can see that by his bar chart here on Sorare data. Really solid, credible scorer. The problem is Zulte Waregem they can concede 5 goals, 3 goals, 4 goals a game. No problem at all. And if you're a centre back, your scores are just crippled automatically. He did manage a 100 here with an assist, which is fantastic. But being at Leuven, I would expect, you know, his L15 to jump up by 4 or 5 points, and by the end of the season, his L40, I would definitely expect it to be closer to the mid-50s than the mid-40s, let's say. And again, he's still trading for Unlimited at a relatively nominal fee. He is a Belgium youth international still playing for under-21s, still playing good domestic football. And one thing I love about Pletnicek, and I always look for in youth players, is the amount of matches they have had, you know, minutes for, how much experience are they garnering. And this guy, this is like his 4th season on Sorare as a relative starting player. You know, it goes all the way back to game week 20 here, August 2019. Is when he was still like, you know, breaking through at the team and whatnot. So he's definitely got enough minutes under his belt. He's definitely got enough of a track record in the division he's currently in for me to be excited about plugging him into, especially an all-star rare lineup. I don't think he's really rare pro material, but certainly, or even a Neef Basher, you know, he's got that about him. Now, while doing researching for this video, I have to go back and look at Wolfsburg, because Wolfsburg are definitely one of these teams that I'm really excited about for the upcoming season. I think they're somebody who, compared to last season's metrics, have got so much room to grow, and they've had a pretty positive pre-season, it must be said. And Sebastian Bornauw is probably the oldest player we have featured today. He is just U23 by the skin of his teeth. Very similar price on auction to some of the other players we've featured already. If you were to pick him up in the secondary market, his floor is a quarter of an Ethereum, 0.25, so he's a wee bit more expensive. But again, this guy has got credible first-team pedigree going for him, and when you even look at these scores here, when they're losing 3-2 and 2-0 and 3-0, 6-1, his scores are still kind of workable. They're still kind of serviceable. So if I expect Wolfsburg to improve, which I do, Bornauw, along with Maxime Slacroix and Mickey van de Veen, there's actually 3 really good under-23 options here in their back 3. But Bornauw for me is the cheapest of the 3 and subsequently best bang for buck. I don't think there's a great deal separating these 3 in terms of SO5 potential. But when I looked at the recent friendlies, Bornauw scored 2 goals in the last game. So if somebody's on that kind of form and he's the cheapest one of the 3, I'm probably more inclined to lean with him. He's also a Belgian international player as well. He's getting called into squads, and with guys like Denayer and Boyata, Vertonghen, Vermaelen and company, there's like a real kind of changing of the guard defensively with Belgium. We do expect guys like maybe Pletnicek, like Tiate, maybe Zeno van Husten, but Sebastian Bornauw in particular is definitely going to be coming into that Belgian senior international stage, I would imagine, over the next 2 or 3 years. And even though you'll lose that U23 status with him, getting a guy who will be a Belgium international player for Nations League and whatever will be a great defender to have in your club. Now, Miguel Gutierrez is a player that I featured on the channel with under the radar, like Wonderkids for next year and all that kind of stuff. Now, he's currently red X'd on Sorare. He's listed as being a Real Madrid Castilla player, i.e. he's going to be playing the 2nd division. But it only takes a quick Google search and a quick hunt around Twitter to see this guy is raising interest across Europe. He's a very exciting left back. I seen him play for Real Madrid 2 or 3 times last year. I think once or twice was maybe a start and definitely an appearance from the bench. He is good enough to play for somebody like Real Madrid. He is really good. He's still really young, still got a lot of room to grow and whatever. He's not going to get ahead of Alba. He's not going to get ahead of Ferland Mendy and whoever else that they may be bringing in. I think Real Betis are really strongly linked to him, and currently his price at just under 0.3. It's mainly down to his low supply. Even Unlimited, if you're to go into Unlimited for a guy like this, might be a good shout. The kind of ceiling on a guy like this, like, is quite a high entry point for, he does have an unknown future at this exact point in time. If that's the kind of market you're shopping in and that's the sort of price range of a prospect you're looking for, I don't really see many better potential options than Miguel Gutierrez. Obviously TBC on his transfer destination, but if he goes to Betis and plays under Manuel Pellegrini, who's a very attack-minded coach, I see it being a good move for Miguel Gutierrez. And guys like Miguel Gutierrez and some of these other guys that we're talking about can be very valuable guys for like the under-23 specialists, under-23 underdog. These competitions that we've not had that much exposure, that much experience to yet, having some trick ace cards up your sleeve like some of the guys we've featured thus far in the video could be that kind of step up that you need to make a difference between a tier 1 and a tier 0 victory. Now, very similarly to when I looked at Sebastian Bornauw, when I came to France to try and find an under-23 defender, the first place you've got to look is Rennes, with the success that their academies had over the last 5 to 10 years of producing talent. And, they actually have a couple of U23 options that I'm pretty excited about. Adrien Truffert is very much likened in his style of play to Theo Hernandez, a very bombastic, exciting, basically a left winger, but he is a left back. His scores are all over the place. He is breaking into the team. He is a young guy, but the ceiling, the top scores are there. The 70 pluses are there to be had for him. And Rennes had a good season, but it was really rocky up and down and whatever. And he's about the same price as Miguel Gutierrez. So again, if you have that kind of price, you have that kind of budget for this type of player, I think Truffert or whatever is a good shout. Now equally, like I said, Rennes do have a good contingent. Not too dissimilar in price on auction. I would probably go for Warmed Omari over Truffert because he's a centre back, and again just get a much higher ceiling on his career probably, his SO5 stakes. But on his floor price on the auction on the secondary market, 0.42 is just a wee bit rich for my blood. Equally, the exact same thing goes for Loic Bade. If you can get him on auction, is the cheapest of these three, I would definitely be going for him. But on auction, he's not cheap enough. He's not cheaper enough, if that makes sense, than Warmed Omari for me to want to pick him over Warmed. And equally, Truffert is he just seems to be the best pick in that respect for me personally. And Rennes should have a pretty good year. He is an attacking fullback, can get decisives, and in under 23 rare in particular, you see the success that decisive capable fullbacks have. He can be that guy, no problem at all. Now, old friend of the channel, Chris Richards, has completed a move to Crystal Palace. Now, he is actually very limited in circulation, so he's only a kind of notable mention on this. He's got 27 cards. How many of them are actually for sale at the moment? One super rare, and he's got one rare, so not many of them to go around. But I think he'll be a really good scorer at Crystal Palace. Patrick Vieira is trying to play good football at Palace, and in terms of the on-ball style of play, be quite similar to what he's experienced at Hoffenheim. The only thing that will stop him repeating his good Hoffenheim scores is just how resolute Crystal Palace are defensively. But because this guy does have such limited circulation, it does have such a huge profile with him being an American national, of course, and maybe, who knows, we might get cards for Palace, we might not next year, but it could be a really powerful differential. He did me some fantastic wonders when I had him in my club, and he was breaking through on loan at Hoffenheim. These periods back here, he was absolutely deadly for me, and I loved him in my gallery. And I could see him hitting that kind of form again at Crystal Palace when the fixtures line up properly for him. He gets a run of 8 games where maybe they're at home 5 or 6 of the times. They don't play any of the big 6, that kind of idea. And differential pieces are always really powerful in under 23 when the field is so narrow on guys that get huge scores. Yeah, and again, equally, I benefited from that kind of aspect when Gabriel Magalhaes went to Arsenal. So it is something that, not everyone will be able to take advantage of this selection, but it's one that I would definitely have your mind open to. When we come to Turkey, I was actually really surprised at how cheap this guy was. On the floor, he's 0.485, just under half an Ethereum. On auction, around a third of an Ethereum. He is 19 years of age. He is under 23 until 2027. He is the starting centre-back at the league champions, Trabzonspor. Now, Trabzonspor are trying to sign an exorbitant amount of centre-backs, and he's not the designated number 1 starter or whatever, but he is their up-and-coming Wonderkid guy. He may not be a starter for every game at his price point, if that is seen to be the case, but that will quickly change, because if he's 19 playing European football, let's say he plays 75% of games across all competitions for Trabzonspor, he will be linked to the good and great of European football, these feeder teams that do elevate talent from the Trabzonspor level to that mid-bracket to then maybe be sold into the top bracket, So a guy at 19 who's a centre-back who will be on the ball, winning aerial duels, passing the ball left to right, doing all that kind of stuff, at this current price point, with the benefit of the Turkish fixture list and the team that he's in. Again, if you're after guys that are maybe under the radar, and this is the sort of budget that you're shopping in, he's somebody I would be pretty excited about. Strapping big guy as well. Now, I am shocked and amazed at the price of Pavlovic at point of recording. He's made a huge transfer to Salzburg. Now, I know in the first couple of games or whatever, he was a DNP. In the last game, he was an unused sub, and in the friendlies and whatever, he wasn't really featured. He is a relatively recent signing. He is still bedding in, and I think at this price here, 0.57, yes, it is rich, right? Yeah, it is an expensive card to be looking at. but you know, his price will quickly change. You know, it's not unforeseeable because he does have such limited volume of scarcity at the moment. 100 rares is okay, but for another 23 potential powerhouse defender, that's not a lot. Who knows when we get Salzburg cards for him, and then who even knows what price the Salzburg cards will auction at. So I think especially these last 3 here that are down at that kind of level, he's got the potential to be one of the biggest under 23 defenders in Europe, period, this season. He's under 23 until 2025. He starts for Serbia. He's got a lot of first team experience under his belt already. He did feature sporadically, I think, for Monaco, maybe got a couple of games before they loaned him out. Obviously did really good at Cercle Bruges, did okay in Switzerland, and I think in Austria is going to kick ass and take names. And especially, I know he's the most expensive on this list, but when you look at the price of the guys that don't make this list, the guys that are seen by the wider community as the nailed on under 23 powerhouses, he's really cheap. Now, this is the most expensive guy we've got on the list, and it's a name that I have heard dotted around before, not a guy I've known too much about until basically researching for the video. He's got high potential, he's got a really good profile, and as we're seeing with the kind of the transfer merry-go-round that's happening, particularly around Dutch youth players, exciting prospects that are coming out, he's at 20 now. I'm pretty sure 20 are also in Conference League this year, or maybe Europa League, they're in one of them, so he'll have some midweek utility. And this guy, like, you know, he has a decent season, he can be Veerman and go to like PSV or Ajax or Feyenoord or something like that, or he can maybe move into one of the top 5 leagues. Players in the Dutch league that do well generally have positive transfers in their career, and for this guy, he looks to be more of a right centre back, right full back type guy, depending on the shape and whatever. Particularly when he's at centre back, the scores he can get are delicious, you know, and it just takes the right team to scout him and see what's in him, and he could end up in a situation where he's absolutely like, look at this, you know, they've conceded 1 goal over 4 games, and over those 4 games, you know, you can probably say he's probably disappointed to come out with a 65 at the low point there. So he's definitely got big game potential in him, and again, for the sort of price point he's at, you just need to look at the contemporaries he has in that division of the guys that make it. That price is pretty appealing. On auction and on market at the moment, he's actually got quite a lot of cards around that kind of price range. There's an auction on at the moment, but as you can see, the floor prices here, there's only about 3 or 4 of those cards, and then quickly the complexion on his situation in the market changes. The complexion can kind of dictate future pricing on auctions and whatever, which is something to be mindful of. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. I had a lot of fun actually unearthing a lot of these defenders. There was actually really a lot of centre backs, and normally I'm really drawn to full backs, so I'm actually quite pleased with myself at the list I've managed to share with you today. I hope it makes, you know, some good use for you in the limiteds, or as rare as I'm kind of thinking about with the pricing of these versus the market, but maybe you're dabbling in some limiteds, maybe one of these guys you opt into super rare for, who knows. I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know your feedback in the comment section down below. Any names you've never heard of that were featured in the video today, or anyone that you would have slid into the video that I've totally slept on, let me know down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share and retweet and all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye. Let's get into all the giveaway stuff before I let you go. I'm still doing monthly giveaways, and I'm making it easier to enter. If you want to be entered to win this month's prize or any future giveaways here at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button, you need to be a subscriber to enter, then leave a comment down below. Each month, a random comment from a random video will be selected as the winner, so the more videos you leave a comment on, the better the chance you've got of winning any of my giveaways. All the winners are announced at the end of videos the same way as we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. As always, guys, if you've enjoyed the video today, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. On screen now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.